You ever find yourself just scrolling online and then you just stop? There's an ad for a jacket, or maybe some shoes, a new gadget, and something inside you just clicks. But what was it really? Was it the super detailed list of features, or was it just the vibe? Okay, let's get into this, because what actually convinces us to buy something is this whole fascinating and kind of invisible science. Just think about it for a second. Are you the kind of person who needs to see all the specs, the five-star reviews, the whole technical breakdown? Or are you swayed by, a gorgeous photo, a feeling of luxury, or just the sense that a product gets you? This is the big question we're going to unpack today. So, on one hand, you've got an ad for a super practical winter coat. The text is probably all about its Gore-Tex fabric and its temperature rating. Then, on the other hand, you have an ad for a designer jacket. There's barely any text at all, just this stunning atmospheric image. They're both selling jackets, right? But they're speaking completely different languages. So what's the deal? Well, to understand this, we gotta look at a classic theory from psychology that explains exactly how our minds get changed. It's all about the specific path our brain takes when it sees an ad. It's called the Elaboration Likelihood Model, or ELM for short. Now, I know that sounds super academic, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. Elaboration is just a fancy word for how much you're willing to really think about a message. And depending on that willingness, you'll either take the mental highway or the scenic route to making your decision. So this model gives us two paths. First up, you've got the thinker's path, which is officially called the central route. You take this path when you're highly involved, like say you're buying a new car, you're going to read the reviews, compare the specs, and really weigh all the arguments. Then there's the gut feeling route, or the peripheral route. This is for all the low-stakes decisions. You're not going to research every brand of gum at the checkout, right? You just grab the one with the cool packaging or the jingle you remember. All right, so for a product that solves a real problem, like keeping you warm and dry, the rules seem pretty straightforward. You're going to be looking for the facts. Think about it. If you live somewhere that gets freezing cold and you're genuinely shopping for a new winter coat, you are highly involved. Your motivation is simple. Find the best product. You're not going to be distracted by a pretty mountain in the background of the ad. You're going to be laser focused on the text, reading the hard facts. So for these utilitarian products, the thing that really persuades you is the quality of the message itself. Strong, convincing facts, that leads to a positive attitude. Weak, flimsy claims, not so much. Simple enough, right? Well, this is where our story takes a really interesting turn. Because what happens when a product's main job isn't to solve a problem, but to express an identity? This is the exact question that a really fascinating study set out to answer. Does this whole model of persuasion, the ELM, still hold up when we're talking about fashion, something researchers call an expressive product? To get to the bottom of this, researchers designed this brilliant experiment, and honestly, what they found kind of changes how we should think about advertising. So here's what they did. They showed people ads for two kinds of jackets. To mess with their level of involvement, they told some people the jacket would be sold in their town soon. That makes you care more. Others were told it was for some foreign market, so they were less invested. Then they tweaked the ads themselves, using either strong or weak copy, and either a really pretty or a kind of ugly background. And here is the first huge finding. For the highly involved shoppers who were looking at the practical winter coat, they spent their mental energy analyzing the ad copy, just like the theory says they should. But for the fashion jacket, they focused almost all their attention on the picture of the product itself. So what this means is that the very definition of the central argument actually changes depending on the product. For fashion, the most relevant, most important piece of information isn't the text. It's the visual, the look, the style, the image it projects. That becomes the new fact that we're analyzing. Okay, and this leads us to the most mind-bending part of the whole study. If the product picture is now the central argument for fashion, then what about the background scenery? I mean, according to the classic model, a highly involved shopper should totally ignore it. It's just a peripheral cue, right? Just noise. And for the practical jacket, that rule held up perfectly. If people really cared about the coat's performance, they didn't let an attractive or unattractive background sway their opinion one bit. They were on the thinker's path, focused on the facts in the copy. But when those same highly involved shoppers looked at the fashion jacket, the results went completely off script. The background, this supposedly irrelevant little detail, had a huge and totally unexpected impact. People started making these new connections. They weren't just seeing a background anymore. They were seeing it as part of the product's story. One participant literally said that they thought the background helped to make the jacket more elegant. It became part of the main argument. And here's the kicker. Get this. In the high involvement group, the unattractive background made the fashion jacket more persuasive. I mean, think about that for a second. Why? Well, the researchers think that people might have inferred this modern, grunge, or edgy image from the unusual background, and they saw that as a positive, fashionable thing. The ugly background made the jacket seem cooler. Wild, right? So what in the world does all of this mean for us, the people actually clicking buy? It means the line between what's a core feature and what's just background noise is way blurrier than we think. Okay, so here's the bottom line. For products that are about self-expression, persuasion isn't about a simple list of facts. It's a whole experience. A tiny detail you might ignore, like the background, can become a really powerful argument, signaling things like exclusivity or edginess or elegance. And you can bet advertisers know this. They aren't just selling a jacket. They are selling you an entire context, a feeling, an identity. So the next time you stop scrolling for an ad, take a closer look. What is it really selling you? Is it appealing to your inner thinker with cold, hard facts? Or is it talking to your gut, using all these visuals and context to build a feeling? This research shows that sometimes, even when we think we're thinking, we're actually feeling our way to a decision. And that is a powerful thing to understand.